Dear Alice, the William Metcalfe anchored here last week. My father was so impressed by the appearance of the place that he decided to stay and make a home here. Yours truly, Josephine Liarde.
In 1839, Wilbraham Frederick Evelyn Liarde landed on the beach in front of where the Pier Hotel now stands, at the corner of Bay Street and Beach Street. With him were his wife Caroline and their 9 children, including the 9-year-old Josephine. Many years later, Josephine wrote her recollections of these first months, living in a tent with her mother and 7 siblings. Her father and elder brother had travelled to Sydney to buy sheep.
It was a trying time for my mother, with my father away, but she was a brave woman. Mr. Latrobe, then the superintendent, came to see my mother and offered her his protection if she would allow our tents and belongings to be moved up beside him. But my mother preferred to remain where my father had left her.
When they landed, there were only 2 men living on the beach, William Davis and Leonard Story. They made a living by rowing passengers and cargo from the ships anchored in the bay. Again, Josephine recalls.
2 men camped in a gigantic cask called a sugar hogshead, which in our time held a ton of sugar. It did not cover them completely. I remember their feet being uncovered, and I was very frightened to pass them by.
The appearance of the area would be of great surprise to you if you could take yourself back to 1850. Wilbraham and his sons cut a rough track through the scrub to Melbourne, more or less along the line that Bay Street takes today. In 1837, the survey of the country south of the Yarra River began. William Darke set up his camp at the beach, not far from where Liarde landed later in the year. He was the first person to call this area Sandridge, after the lines of high sand dunes above the high water mark. Gradually, more people came to live in Sandridge, as Port Melbourne was then called. A plan for the streets was published, and the principal streets were named by the Surveyor General in Sydney. The area of Melbourne south of the Yarra River was swampy, and only a few feet above sea level. A very large lake, known as the Lagoon, separated Sandridge from St Kilda and Emerald Hill. The area of the lagoon was greater than the area of the village of Sandridge itself, and stretched from the beach in a long arc up to where the intersection of Bay Street and Ingle Street is today. Before 1850, the lagoon was a beautiful lake, its banks shaded by overhanging eucalypts, and its water teeming with wildlife. The indigenous people of the Bunwarung tribe hunted on the swamps, including the lagoon. The Liardes did the same. The Liarde family remained in Sandridge. Within a year of his arrival, Wilbraham built a substantial wooden hut for his family and began to run this as the Pier Hotel. A few months later, he and his sons built this colonial-style inn, illustrated here in one of the series of paintings executed by Liarde in 1874. He advertised it as Brighton on the Beach. The most exciting events in Sandridge during the mid-1800s were the several severe floods in 1839, 1842 and in 1849. On each of these occasions, the Yarra spread out from its ill-defined banks and covered most of the land between Princes Bridge in Melbourne and the banks of the lagoon. In 1849, Frank Liarde was one of 3 men who rowed a small boat from the Pier Hotel into the city at William Street to deliver mail from ships moored in Hobson's Bay. This painting gives an idea of how the flooded area appeared to an observer standing upstream from the site of the first Princes Bridge. The pylons of the bridge can be seen sticking out of the water in the foreground. By 1850, Sandridge was a small town, serving a small but steady stream of arrivals from other states and from England. It featured wooden warehouses along the road opposite the beach, scattered wooden and brick houses along the line of Bay Street, and a few in the unformed streets adjoining. This rather sleepy existence ended forever in 1851, when gold was discovered in Victoria.